All right, so in this section, we are going to look at the slope-intercept form of a line. That's going to show up as an equation. But before that, let's do a couple of practices. We want to know, I've given you two different graphs, and the question is determine the slopes and the y-intercept. All right, so let's go through this together. We're going to start with the graph A right here, and then we're going to do graph B after. All right, graph A. We want to find out the slope. Okay, and very simple. The very first thing that you have to do, you have to look at a coordinate on the line that is very clear. You know the coordinate for sure. There are many options in here. You can look at this one right, that coordinate right there is very clear, and the next one is that one that is very clear. Those are the two coordinates you can use. All right, and very basically you go from left to right. So if I start with -2 as the y coordinate, I just go from -2, I go up, straight up until I'm across the coordinate, the other second point, right? So how far up did I go? I went up 2 units, +2. Then you have to go across to the next point. How many points did you go? How many spaces did you go to get to the next point? That is +2 again, because we're going to the right. And then the slope was rise over run. So what was the rise? It was +2. What was the run? +2. What is 2 over 2? That is 1. So the slope of this line is +1. Great. Now go through the next one. Example B, graph B, same idea again. This time, again, many points on the graph you can choose, but choose the easy one that you can see. So look at this one, -4, which is that coordinate on the graph right here. So we know that is the y coordinate is -4, and -8 for the x, so we know that. Now we can go from left to right as long as you remember. It's a consistent way of doing it so that you don't make a mistake. So if I'm going from left to right, so I have to go from this point, let's call this point A, to point B, and I start with rise and run. So when I say rise, that means you can actually go vertical up and down. So in this case, the rise is actually a drop vertically down to the place where I'm right across the second point B. So how far down did I go? Well, that's -4, so that would be -4. All right, so 4 units down. I went down 4 units. The next, I go across until I hit point B, but I went how many units? That's -8, that's 0, so +8 because I moved to the positive x-axis or to the right. All right, what is the slope? Slope was rise over run. Okay, what was the rise? In this case, what was the fall? The fall was -4 units you went down, and then the run was +8. We always want to simplify that fraction if we can, and in this case will be 1 over 2 negative. So the slope of graph B is -1 over 2. Fantastic. The next part is the finding the y-intercepts for both. Very easy. Okay, find y-intercept when the graph hits the y-axis. So let's go to y-intercept. So y-intercept for graph A, very, very simple. Where the graph crosses the y-axis, it is right there. What is that coordinate? That coordinate is 0, -2. Okay, very simple. You could say y-intercept is equal to -2, but in terms of the ordered pair, get used to that. Y-intercept will always have the x coordinate 0. All right, what is the y-intercept for graph B? Same idea. You go through and say, okay, where is the line crossing the y-axis, which is right here? What is that coordinate? If you don't remember, that was -4. So rewrite, and that is 0, -4, or you can say y-intercept is -4. But ordered pair is very important to get used to. All right. So I now want you to go ahead and graph these two relations, linear relations, okay? Pause the video. You go ahead and graph these two. You can use a table of values if you wish, and then come right back. So it turns out that I kind of tricked you a little bit. The graph of y equal to x minus 2 is right here. That's the graph of y equal to x minus 2, right there. That's the line. And the graph of -1/2 x minus 4 is right there. That's the graph of that. That's the B. Graph B, and that's graph A. Okay? So now the thing that you need to pay attention to is that this coefficient in front of x, and this constant value that has shown up here. Can you tell me what they are in reference to slope and y-intercept? I am sure you can. So here it is. The coefficient in front, that is your slope. Always the coefficient of x is the slope, and that is the m value. In this case is 1. What is in this case? -1/2. Okay? And what is the constant? The constant is the y-intercept. That is the constant always. And look at the second equation. The constant is the y-intercept again, -4, -2. And it turns out that every time you have an equation that looks like this is called the slope intercept form of a line. That's what it's called. Y equals mx plus b. Repeat that a million times. Y equals mx plus b. That is the slope intercept form of any line where m is the slope, that's the coefficient of x, and b is the y-intercept. And you can just use that without any table of values. My apologies, I asked you to go ahead and use a table of values, but really you didn't have to, and this is how you do it without using a table of values, because sometimes we don't need to have a table of values. It just takes too long. All right.